Hello, these notes are for work, energy, and power. These will be written into your notebook. And let's get started. So, first, now that we've kind of introduced energy, we've introduced kinetic energy, gravitational potential energy, I really want to cut to the chase and give you guys the origin of where those two definitions come from. And that comes from the idea of work. You'll recall that one of the first slides that I showed you was, does a rock have energy associated with it? And you will have heard me say, well, it can have energy if I gave it energy, because I could pick it up, right? I could make it do things, etc., etc. And so that is by definition, when you give something energy, um, work. And so in physics, you'll see the official definition is that it's in, and I'll kind of highlight it right here, an energy transfer that occurs when an object is moved over a distance by a force. And then I went ahead and outlined this right here, but oops, the force has to be applied in the same direction as the displacement. Now, you'll see that the definition for work is going to be that the net force is, or sorry, is going to be work is equal to the net force multiplied by the displacement and then multiplied by the cosine of theta. You guys don't have to really worry about the cosine of theta because as long as the force and the displacement are in the exact same direction, then the angle will always be zero. And if the angle is zero, then the cosine of zero is going to be equal to one. And so one of the pictures that I like to show is this guy right here, where you can see that the force and the displacement, the force is causing this cart to go up a ramp. And notice that the force and the displacement are in the same direction. And so the angle between the force and the displacement is 0 degrees. Um, and then the cosine of zero would just be one. So all in all, the work equation in this class is for the most part, going to be force times displacement, and you can ignore the cosine theta part. The units are going to be joules still. You'll notice that it's newtons times meters, which is the same thing as a joule. And then here are my conditions for work. There's two conditions. It needs to be a constant net force. Now, in physics, oftentimes you'll see a non-constant net force, and that's fine. And that's actually very regular. In fact, a constant net force is kind of rare. But the reason we're only going to deal with constant net forces is because otherwise you would need calculus to solve your problems. And then the other thing is that the force has to cause the displacement. And so if an object is moving but there's no net force or the forces are balanced, right? Then this is where this would come up, right? And so there needs to be a net force that's causing the displacement. Okay, so here's a question really quick. So, is this an example of work? A teacher applies a force to a wall and becomes exhausted. So let me go ahead and draw a really quick picture. So here's our red wall, and then here's our force right here. My question to you is going to be, will the wall actually move? And hopefully you're thinking to yourself, no, the wall would not move. In fact, nothing would move. The fact that I'm becoming exhausted, right, has nothing to do with work. And so even though I'm exerting energy to push the wall just has too much, what's the word, inertia, right, to actually move. And so is there a net force, or sorry, is there net force? Yes. Is there a displacement? No. And so is any work done? The answer is no. Okay. How about this one? A book falls off a table and free falls to the ground. Well, let's go ahead and, again, let's draw a picture. So we'll have our book, and then we'll go ahead and we'll draw our force. Now, if it falls, right, there's going to be a displacement. If um, if it's in free fall, then it has to have the force of gravity acting on it. And so you have a net force, you have a displacement, and so yeah, in this example, work would be done. Okay. How about this one? A waiter carries a tray full of meals above their head by one arm straight across the room at a constant speed. And so there's actually a picture already over here because I knew that this one would kind of be hard to draw. But you'll see that the force and the displacement are in two different directions. And so you would have to go ahead and plug in the cosine of theta to be able to solve for this one. But I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a hint right here. I don't know if you guys are all familiar, right, with the unit circle, but this is a 90-degree angle. So if you were to take the cosine of 90 degrees, right, well, then that would be equal to 0. If you take 0, multiply it by the force and displacement, well, then you have 0 work. So in this case, no, there's no work that's being done. It's kind of a weird example. I'll go into it more in depth in class if you guys need some more assistance with that. And then this one is very similar to the example of free fall. A rocket accelerates through space. Is this an example of work? Well, you have your rocket. Let me go ahead and draw a picture. I'll draw an orange rocket. Okay. And then it's going to have a force. It's exerted to it. Is the rocket going to accelerate? Yes. Is there going to be a displacement? Clearly. And so there has to be work that's done on this rocket. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good understanding of work. We're going to go ahead and jump to some examples. Um, if for some reason you feel that I'm going a little too fast on these examples, feel free to pause and write down the example for yourself. But I hope that they seem pretty straightforward. So anyways, here's your three examples. We have diagram A, diagram B, diagram C. And we're going to go ahead and apply the work equation to solve for them. So for the first one, diagram A, you're going to have a 15-kilogram block, and it's going to be pushed to the right by a 100 Newton force. And so it says in the example, let me grab my pen, that the distance is going to be 5 meters at a constant speed. So let's go ahead and I have my diagram A. I have my equation. Equation is work is equal to force times displacement multiplied by the cosine of theta. You'll notice that the displacement is going to be in the same direction as the force. So the angle is going to be 0 degrees. We're going to have 100 newtons multiplied by 5 for the displacement, multiplied by 1. I really want to emphasize that this 1, right, is coming from the cosine of 0. The cosine of 0 is just equal to 1. So 100 times 5 times 1, and that will give us 500 joules. Let's go ahead and jump to example or diagram B. You'll see that in diagram B, the only thing that's changed is that it's still a 5 meter displacement, but now the 100 Newton force is going to be at a 30-degree angle. So let me go ahead and kind of demonstrate that right here. You'll see that the force is going both up and to the right. These are called components. We haven't really talked about it, but it's getting pulled in two different directions, which means that we're going to have to incorporate that cosine of theta in. So for example B, we have force times displacement times the cosine of 30 degrees. Make sure that your calculator is in degree mode before you do this. I get an answer of 0.866, so it's going to be 100 times 5 times 0.866, and you get an answer of 433 joules. Think about that for a second. Is it harder to pull something at an angle or straight on? I know personally when I pull my daughter in the wagon's handle is purposely at an angle. Hmm, I wonder why that is. Must be easier to pull things at an angle. Obviously, there's going to be a limit to that, and I would actually encourage you guys to figure out what is that limit. Okay, last example. Um, Diagram C. So we're going to have that same 15 kilogram block, except now that it's going to be lifted 5 meters up into the air. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, first off, what is the amount of force, the minimum amount of force to lift an object? And I'm not really here to, I'm not in class at the moment to have you guys think about that. And so I'll kind of reveal it. That minimum force is going to be your weight. And so, as a reminder, weight is equal to mass times the gravitational field strength. So we'll go ahead and we'll change this to be m times g times the displacement times cosine of theta. Now, the force is pointed up, the displacement is pointed up. Force times displacement is going to be in the same direction, right? So again, it's going to be cosine of 0, which is equal to 1. And you'll notice, I'll go ahead and kind of go back for a second. But if this cancels, right, this becomes just 1, well, then my equation is just m times g times d, which, I recognize that. That's equal to gravitational potential energy. And that's actually where the definition of work originally came from, was from that origination of gravitational potential energy, which is kind of a clear and hopefully kind of interesting connection there. So anyways, it'll be 15 times 10 times 5, which is multiplied by the cosine 0, and that gives me 750 newtons. So of all of these examples, lifting the object straight up is the hardest, which actually, think about that for a second. It's actually not very surprising, because if you've ever pushed a car before, pushing a car horizontally is actually super easy. Lifting the car, on the other hand, that's actually kind of hard. Um, and so hopefully you don't find yourself in that example right there. So let me go ahead and clear the screen. And then let's go on to the next slide. So I really want to kind of lightly touch on this. So the reason I kind of mentioned earlier that if you have a non-constant force that you would need some calculus, you guys are not responsible for that. I would like to kind of emphasize right here that you can solve for the amount of work right here by calculating the area underneath a force versus displacement graph. Hopefully that's pretty clear right here. Um, if not, let me just go ahead and emphasize it. You'll notice that area would be equal to base times height. So the base right here is 5 meters, and the height right here is 5 newtons. You'll notice that what we're doing, right, is we're doing force, and then we're multiplying it by displacement. Well, hey, wait a second, that's equal to the work, right? And so I'll let you guys play around with this. If you were to calculate the work of this guy right here, you would need to take the area of the rectangle, which is 5 times 5, so 25, right? And then you would add that to the area of this triangle right here. The area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. So you'll notice that this one is 5 times 5 again, which would be 25, but then multiplied by a half. So that would be 12.5. So 25 plus 12.5 is going to be something like 37.5, if I was to write that over here. And then since it's energy, the units would be joules. Okay. All right, last screen, and then we're just about done. The last one that I would like to mention briefly is the idea of power. We're going to jump into that definition of power a lot more in detail as I have you guys do some energy and kind of um, energy conservation calculations. But for the meantime, we're going to just kind of leave this definition here and let you guys kind of play around with it. Power, by definition, is just the rate at which you're doing work. So if I push something really hard and really fast, then I'll do it with a lot of power. If I push something really hard but then really slow, they'll take less power. And so the units for that are going to be in units of watts. And yeah, we'll think about that. We'll put it in we'll relate that to machines and cars and all sorts of kind of energy calculations in the future. But I'll kind of leave this here and let you guys play around with doing those calculations. So, all right. Well, that concludes the notes. Please, as always, if you have any questions, reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. And yeah, I'll see you guys in class.